Welcome to the Atlanta Men's Workshop speaker and workshop recordings. Atlanta Men's Workshop is held every spring and fall at the Rock Eagle 4-H campus in Eatonton, Georgia. That's just about an hour east of Atlanta, Georgia. Please visit our website at atlantamensworkshop.com or see the link below to find dates and details to join us. Partial scholarships are available to those in need. We hope you enjoy this presentation, and we hope you will come join us at the Rock. Until then, we shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
All right, let's have a meeting. I'm Dave G. I'm a recovering alcoholic. Start with a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer, please.
God, to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
All right, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to ask you guys in the back, if anybody sits behind you, to tell them, come on up, all right? Because we got a small crowd, more energy, concentrated, the better it's going to be. So I guess I want to qualify by telling you guys on February 14th, Valentine's Day, I woke up, 1991. I remember it was Valentine's Day. I didn't have a girlfriend. And I got high, and I went to Ridgeview Institute to work with drug addicts and alcoholics, high as a kite. And that was my normal way to live. And I was confronted about my drug use. And I did something very unusual. I don't know if you guys can relate, but I lied. I said, not me. You got bad intel. Fast forward to September 23rd, 1991. I went to rehab against my will. From 91 until today, I've picked up only one white chip. So on the one hand, that makes me an expert on how not to relapse. On the other hand, I don't know nothing about relapse. Now, how many of you, we got 15 guys, how many of you have relapsed? All right, so 2/3, all right? One of my friends, one of my idiot friends, I don't want to name names, Chad P., he said, just tell him to get a big book. And then I'm like, dude, if it was that easy, why didn't you guys stay sober? Someone else said, tell him to go to meetings. Well, if it was that easy, why didn't you guys stay sober? So I'm going to make it a little more complicated, but not too complicated. So I've been a therapist for years. And I'm just going to say that most therapists don't understand addiction. A lot of the addiction therapists are people that were plumbers or anesthesiologists, and they get sober and they become therapists, and they know about addiction, but they don't know shit about doing therapy. I'm an unusual creature in that I was a pretty good therapist and a psychologist for years, and then I got sober, and here we are today. So when I was in rehab, I remember it like it was yesterday. And there was a guy who taught this How Not to Relapse class, and he did it every Saturday for an hour and a half. And I remember everything he did, and the way I present it is kind of a distillation of what he taught us over 4 weeks. But if you go to 98% of treatment centers today and you ask them, do you teach a How Not to Relapse class? They do not. All right, which is weird. So here's what we're not going to do today. When someone enters this program, they have to say to themselves, do I want to get sober? Yes or no? Yes? Okay, why do I want to get sober? So we're not going to deal with that. But then as those of you that have some time, what got you here is not necessarily what keeps you here. It's different. For a lot of people, we stick around because our life gets better. There are some people, they stick around, their life doesn't get better, and they still stay, but I think the majority of them say bye-bye. All right? And what I tell people is, it doesn't matter. Like, you ever hear the expression, no atheists in foxholes? Everybody knows what a foxhole is. So if I'm fighting that enemy there, and I'm in a foxhole, and I'm crouched down, and bullets are whizzing over my head, and I'm an enlisted officer. I signed up to be there. And my neighbor right here was drafted against his will. Okay? And if we both stand up, they don't care. They're going to shoot either of our heads off. So what got us here is not that important. What keeps us here is important, but we can't get into that today. You guys all got to figure out why you want this. This third thing we're not going to talk about today is how to get honest. Anybody come into this room a liar, a cheat, and a thief? Has anybody been around long enough where you kind of forget how to lie? That happened to me. About, well, I don't want to bust her, but about 8 years ago, my wife turned 50. And as a surprise, I flew in her family. There was 5 people who were on a flight, and I was going to the airport to pick them up, and I lied. I told my wife I was going, I forgot. She had no idea. And then that flight got delayed. So I had to call her up and give her a lie about why I'm not coming home. And the flight got further delayed. And as I'm driving home with these people in my car, she calls me. She's like, "Where are you?" I had a lie, and I sucked at it. I was terrible at it. I remember, like, they were looking at me, and I'm like, I'm coming up with this, and I hang up, and I go, that was terrible. I go, "Yeah, you are not a good liar." And I go, "I used to be a really good liar." So we're not going to be dealing with this, but we will be talking about how to stay sober. Now, so this is what we're going to be working off of. Here's a guy. He's climbing up an escalator that's going down. Now, did anybody here not run up a down escalator when they were a kid? Did not. I did. And it was fun. And what's the key to doing that? Maintain momentum? Well, it's simple. You got to run up faster than the escalator's going down. So if the escalator's going down and I'm here and I run faster, I go up. If my legs are moving slower, I go down. If I stop moving my legs altogether, I go down really fast. And if I really want to go down, I could turn around and run down the escalator. Okay. What does this represent? Relapse. The disease. Who said that? All right. So 1 for you, 0 for you. But I have faith in you. You're going to get one of these right. Okay. So this is your disease. Now, anybody want to take the position this isn't a disease? Because there are people literally that will say, all you need to do is just not drink. That if you had enough willpower, da-da-da-da-da. Or if you were motivated to not drink, da-da-da-da-da. I think it's a disease. Now, we could have a debate about that, but let's not. Let's assume you guys kind of buy the fact that our disease wants to bring us down and wants to get fed. And the way I conceptualize it, and I got this from my old mentor who's passed away, Tom Butcher, he thought about the disease as a little dark man or troll or monster or the devil, whatever you want to call it, lives inside of you and wants to get fed. Okay? And this troll will do whatever it can do to get fed. Come on up. Come closer. We lost that guy. And when I say it'll do whatever it needs, come on up. When I say it needs to do whatever to get fed, it'll lie to you. It'll whisper in your ear and say, meetings suck. Or it'll whisper in your ear and say, don't listen to your sponsor. Listen to your friend. He says it's okay to go to the concert. You're ready. You've been sober for 3.5 weeks now. Go to a concert. He's going to get messed up. But don't, Any questions about that? Has anybody had conversations with that thing inside of us? All right. So, this wants to bring me down. Here I am. If I go that way, I'm in recovery. If I go this way, I'm in relapse. Any questions? So what is this? This is an imaginary line. That's where you get up to the top of the escalator and you could get off and rest and relax, right? No. 2 for 2, dude. This does not exist. We'd like to think we could get to a point where we could just relax. I've got 33 years sober. Why am I at the rock again? There's been 3 rocks since COVID. I've been at all 3. Why? Because if I rest, it's going to start pulling me down. So I don't rest. Now, some months I only go to 2 or 3 or 4 meetings, but I got 33 years sober. There's some months that you new guys could only go to 8 or 10 meetings and still be okay. But if you don't do enough of recovery over time, you're going to start moving downhill. Now, so that's that line. Here's a real line. This is the actual relapse. This is when you put a drink or a drug in your body. Now, this is an important concept. Here I said you're in relapse, but you haven't had a drink or a drug yet. If I'm down here, I'm in relapse, but I haven't had a drink or a drug yet. Here, I've crossed the line and I'm high or drunk. So if I go from here to here, I'm in relapse, but I haven't had a drink or a drug. Any questions? So
what's taking place? I take it you guys share what's taking place from those arrows.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second. So just here I am. I slack. I loaf. I don't call my sponsor. I miss a meeting or 2. I don't pray. Boom. Here I am. So I'm in relapse, but I haven't had a drink or a drug. So that would be an example of what happened. All right? Fight with the wife. Trouble with the boss. I lose my peace. I lose my serenity. I'm off track. Here I am. Now. This is relapse. What's this? Death. I was talking to someone out front, and he had said he had died like twice. And I said, they should have a meeting for people who have died multiple times, like a little subgroup, hey, midnight, instead of heavy hitters, here's a meeting for people who have died 2 or more times. I bet you there'd be 20, 30 people in that room. I've been Narcaned, I was in a coma, etc. So if we relapse and we keep on using, we're going to die. It may take a week, may take a year. Hey, I hear there's this new drug out. It's really cool. It's called fentanyl. People do it without knowing they're doing it. And one of my least favorite expressions is, he died of an accidental overdose. Did he? Now, I know he didn't on purpose die, but did he die of an accidental overdose, or did he die of addiction? Matthew Perry. Did he die of an accidental overdose? No, he died because he was an untreated addict. All the money in the world, all the treatment in the world. It's funny, you know, like I'm getting recorded and I could say shit about Matthew Perry because he's a celebrity. Whitney Houston, did she die of drowning in a bathtub or she died of addiction? It was addiction. And gee, what a surprise. Her kid did the exact same thing. All right? One of the core things I want to teach you guys tonight is if I'm here and I'm in recovery, or if I'm here and I'm in relapse, I need to know whether I'm in recovery or in relapse. Let me say that again. If I may just volunteer you for something. If I say to you, are you going up the escalator or down? There's only one of two answers. I'm going up or I'm going down. What are you doing? Going up. We're sitting here. It's late. Bunch of recovering dudes. We're at the Rock. Boom. When somebody says, I don't know, I'm a therapist and I get paid to ask brilliant questions. I'll be like, no, you tell me. Are you going up? Are you going down? I don't know to me equals down. Now, you already, you're going down a road. Who here has driven down a road perfectly straight? Like, for example, from Atlanta to New Orleans. You guys ever drive that? There are roads that go perfectly straight for miles, yes? Pretend you're driving a car. Put your hands on the wheel. What do your hands do when you're driving down a perfectly straight road? Correct. Damn, you're 3-0. So my hands are doing this. I go a little this way, boom. A little this way, boom. I'm never going straight. I'm always making constant minor corrections. So if I ask you, where are you? And you say, I am perfectly neutral. No, you're going up or down. If you can't answer the question, then I think you're going down. All right? So the answer I like is, are you in recovery or are you in relapse? I'm in recovery. As long as we're going this way, you're not going to relapse. So when my friend says, just tell them to read the big book, well, sometimes that literally will help you go from here to here, but it's not enough. You got to do whatever it is you need to do so you feel like you're going up. All right, now, I'll stop here. Any questions?
Could you explain to us emotional and mental relapse?
So the question is, explain the emotional and mental relapse. So legally, the relapse we're talking about is putting a chemical in your body. I think all of this is by definition emotional relapse. I think all of this going down is you called it emotional or mental?
Yeah, when we get restless, irritable, or discontent, I think I'm just asking how we begin to understand.
Okay.
We're right here.
Okay.
Yeah, breathe. So I think I'm just asking because probably 2 or 3 of us have relapsed in the past 50 years. I'm being sarcastic, but we're not seeing this. Maybe some of us maybe are not seeing this relapse. For example, so I had 11 years. I relapsed. I remember going into the neighborhood to shoot the dope. I remember that part. I'm very happy, joyous, and free. My life is really, really working out. I mean, everything is just great. So there was a period between heading toward the top of the steps, but I'm coming down those steps because the next thing I know, I'm shooting the dope, which has got me almost near the bottom of the line.
So
I'm just asking.
the question was, I had 11 years sober, I was happy, joyous, and free, and I ended up going to the dope neighborhood and getting high. And the question is, why didn't I know this? Is that?
Yeah, because somewhere in there, I take it that there's a pre-land, like there's something, and I'm thinking maybe it's restless, irritable, and discontent, or maybe it may be falling off the beam. I don't.
So
I don't really know.
So let me say this. Let's continue on, and then I'll circle back at the end. No, seriously, I'll look at you, and I'll ask you if I filled in some of the blank. Because what I'm hearing, the question is, I ended up here. I thought I was here. I don't know how I ended up here. Is that not what you're saying?
I'm back here right now. I've got 12 years.
Okay.
I'm here, and I'm actually in the middle of relapse and didn't know it.
Okay. So just
Well,
hold.
let's not focus on it.
Oh, it's okay.
You do what you do.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Hold that thought, and that's that's literally what I want to try and inoculate you guys against, all right? And I'll just put this word up here again, which is honesty. So, the key to this is when you're doing this, to recognize you're doing this. We are expert at lying to ourselves. We're expert at lying to others. But I already said one important piece. The second important piece of today is someone could ask me how I'm doing. I'm fine, right? And I could actually believe that. Even though I know I'm not fine, they know I'm not fine, I could tell people I'm fine and kind of buy that. But if I'm connected with another human being, i.e. a sponsor, or i.e. guys that I hang out with, and they say to me, "Are you okay?" And my first reaction is, "I'm fine." And for those of you that are watching or listening to this on audio tape, I smile a big smile as I say I'm fine and I'm full of shit. I have to be willing to have my sponsor or my friend say, "Dude, no, you're not fine." All right, now, here I am. And I'm trying to go up, but I end up here. Why? It could be internal. I could decide I don't want to work the program. Program's boring. All people do is they sit around and moan and complain. If you've ever said that to yourself, that's you. Because I've been in this room. I've been in these rooms for 33 years, and I've heard people moan and complain for 0.003% of the times I've heard people share. 90% of the time people are sharing their experience, strength, and hope, and it gives me strength and hope. And if I'm in a meeting where people are whining a lot, I probably need to find a different meeting, okay? So if I'm here and I end up if I end up here, this could be one day later, a week later, could be a month later. Let's like not quibble over the details. Here I am. I have a choice at this point, which is to recognize I'm moving the wrong way and to go that way. Any questions? Those of us that have been sober a while have had many times when we're like this, followed by the reverse, followed by that going up the escalator again. And remember, there's no off. So we're pumping our arms, we're moving our legs. We're at the Atlanta Men's Workshop because we do work here. Recovery is work. If it was easy Everybody be doing it. So, here I am. I have a choice. I need to recognize where I'm at and reverse it, or delude myself, fool myself, pretend that I'm okay, and I end up down here. So here I am. From here to here is the same distance as from here to here. Any questions? I have a Sunkist can soda, which is a fact. It is this distance here is from here. So here I am. Have I used yet? No. Have I used yet? No. But I'm getting very close. The third most important thing I'm going to say today is the most important thing I'm going to say today, which is this. If I'm here and I recognize that I'm moving down and I need to come back up, to go from here to here takes X amount of effort. If I'm here, to move from here to here takes 1,000X amount of effort. And that's the whole talk right there, guys. If I wait till I'm down here to recognize I need to change my momentum and go back up, I can do it. But it's 1,000 times harder to go from here to here as it is from here to here. Now, if I continue to here, and I still haven't used, but I'm about to, it usually looks like this. I go to the liquor store. I buy my old favorite drug of choice, Tito's or Coke or whatever. And I go home and I pull down the blinds and I'm in the kitchen and I pour myself a glass and I hold that glass and I look up and I look at the glass and I'm right here. Now, it has happened where people go, no, I'm not going to do it. And they take it and they dump it in the sink and they take the bottle they bought and they put it in the sink and they run out and they go to AA and they become president of their home group and they never drink. It has happened 17 times in the history of AA. The other 89 million times, the bottle becomes part of our stomach and we're gone. So if you wait till here, there's a chance you can pull it out. But the odds are not good. The way I conceptualize it, it's like it's a black hole. And in physics, I've never really been near a black hole, but they say the closer you get to it, the more it pulls you. Make sense? Yeah? So down here, in this relapse death place, it really gets. It's very tough to reverse. Here to here, it's easier. Is it easy? It depends. If I catch it early, it could be as easy as just doubling my meetings. It could be as easy as calling up my sponsor and say, hey, I've never told anybody this, but I've been texting another woman that I'm not married to, or call my friend and say, hey, I've been thinking about using. Sometimes that's all you need to do, just to get honest. Now, honest with myself is the hardest thing, because what do we do when people ask us how we're doing? I'm fine. And that's a lie. Now, any questions at this point? All right. There are people who get sober without 12 steps. I've never met any, but I hear there are people who get sober without 12. There are treatment centers. They put in their headline, we are a non-12-step program. It's like that's a good thing. And they teach you mindfulness. They teach you how to think the addiction, arm wrestle, I don't know what the hell they do, but I've never known anybody stay sober. These guys here tend to stay sober. Now, so let's just assume we're all 12-steppers. So what do we do when we're going down and we want to go up? Meetings, sponsor, pray, meditate, read literature, all right? So one at a time, give me another thing to do. Just raise your hand.
Service work.
Service work. Call another alcoholic. Have fun in recovery. All right, hold on. Go. Write an inventory. Making amends. Come on. Hundreds, just hundreds. So we'll call it fellowship. The closest I ever came to using, I was living with a sober guy, and I had plans for Friday night, and he was out of town, and my plans fell through, and I was by myself. And I had that little beast inside of me say, you can get high tonight, and no one will know. And then I said to myself, well, I don't want to do drugs, because drugs are bad. Alcohol and me, we weren't that horrible yet. Maybe I could drink successfully. Should I get a 6-pack? Then I thought, should I get a 12-pack? Because if I get a 6-pack and the 6-pack ain't enough, should I get a 12-pack? And then I thought, but what about my home group? They know I'm due to pick up a 6-month chip soon. And then I said to myself, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to pick up a 6-month chip. I'm going to hope they don't know I don't pick up a 6-month chip. Then I'm going to wait 6 more months and I'll pick up a 6-month chip. Then no one's going to do the math and I'm going to be okay. So that's why I add this. I think the chip system that we use can work in our benefit. Because when you have to pick up a white chip, it doesn't feel good. We all clap, but I didn't want to, that kept me sober. Not that I was going to pick up a white chip. It wasn't that honest. It was that I would have had to lie about the 6-month chip, because that's how honest I was. I was so honest I wasn't going to pick up a white chip illegally. You follow how busy it is up there? So the chip kept me sober. What else we got? Working with a newcomer. They say it's the best defense against relapse, don't they? So we'll call that. You guys old enough to know what that means? The effing new guy. What else? Read literature, listen to speaker tapes. I'll give you guys a hint. Where are we right now? Go to workshops. And who was going to fix to say that? Too late, man. Workshops, conferences, they're different, but they're the same. You hear a lot of these guys that have a bunch of time that I'm a workshop junkie. I go to Florida, I go to Virginia. I've only been to the Hitters Workshop other than this. I've been to Atlanta Roundup a couple of times, but I feel good when I go to those things. I feel good. What else we got? Got anything? Got anything? So I have a list at home, and there's 24 items. and 8 of them go here, and 16 of them go here. And what's the difference between these two boards?
One's by yourself, one's with other people.
So this one, if you can do it by yourself, I put it here. So have fun. You could have fun by yourself. I could put it here, but I put it there. This is stuff we could do by ourselves. This is stuff we do with other humans. This other human thing is a challenge for some of us. I'm an introvert. I don't like you people. I'm afraid to get vulnerable around other men. There's all the reasons why you don't want to do this stuff, but that's what we need to be doing. Because with the other human thing, if my buddy says to me, I'm worried about you, and I smile and say, I'm fine, he's like, no. Now, because I respect this guy, I got to listen and take an honest look at where I am. Am I going up or down? My buddy says to me, are you going up or down? And my answer is, I'm neutral. No, not allowed to say that. I guess I got to get honest with myself and be like, okay, I guess I am slipping down a little bit. But if I'm up here, it's an easy correction. Now, any questions at this point? Sir?
When we're doing any of those things, we're in a solution. When we're in relapse, we're in our disease, and we either lying to ourselves or we actually can't see it, which is what you're saying. Somebody looks at you and says, no, you're not fine. And you say you're fine.
Right. So what you just say it again. Say it in 2 seconds.
Well, I was more of a question, but I was just saying those things right there are all part of being in the solution. And when you're working the solution, you're in recovery. When you're in relapse, you know you're restless, irritable, and discontent, but you may not have connected all the dots, and it requires outside participation sometimes.
I'm sorry? Oh, I got it. So that was the question. I don't think it was a question. I think you made a good statement.
Well, kind of to the gentleman's circling back around to what he was at, sometimes we don't know when we're in relapse.
I'd say a lot of times we don't know we're in relapse.
And it's cutting back a powerful thing, it can be very insidious, and you may say it doesn't happen over a day or 2 or 3. It could be years as it happens, but you're a slow slide.
So the guy that taught this in my program, he used to say, it's cunning, baffling, powerful, and it's patient. And he used to add that it's patient. And he used to say it over and over again. Our disease is patient. So one of my guys up there said, my disease is not in the parking lot doing push-ups. I'm like, really? And I like that expression. You guys heard it before? Do you buy it? I think my disease is in the parking lot doing push-ups verbally. Like it's learning new ways to lie to me, to get me to say, screw meetings. How many times have you heard people who had a relapse, they say, well, first thing that went is I stopped going to meetings. You stop going to meetings because you have resentment. You stop going to meetings because they're boring. You stop going to meetings because you don't need them. Most of us stop going to meetings because we're dating a woman who's not in the program and we don't want to look bad. Yeah? That was you? So I think it's cunning, baffling, powerful, and patient. I think it's doing push-ups. I think it's sharpening its skills because it's dying. It's not getting fed. So when that disease starts dying, it starts getting desperate. And one of the first things it starts saying is, this is a bunch of bullshit. That's one of the first things my disease says to me. This is bullshit. AA is for losers. Your sponsor's an idiot. That guy in your home group, he's annoying, etc. I saw a hand over there.
I guess the question I have is, can you be on the bottom quarter of the spectrum and still be doing the things that you were doing when you felt you were stronger in your recovery? I'll give you an example. I was still going to meetings. I was still talking to my sponsor every day. I was still communicating with my sponsor the issue that was going on with me, that I was having these thoughts of activities that I was engaged in when I was using. The thought of using was not there, but the activities that I was engaged in while I was using were prevalent. They were on my computer screen. They were everywhere. Everywhere I went, not literally, but they were everywhere. They were everywhere. Women's breasts or titties was everywhere on my computer screen. They were everywhere. They were in my mind. They were everywhere. They were at the stoplight. They were everywhere.
So sexual stuff led you to use chemicals?
Because that always kind of went hand in hand with me.
Okay.
When in my addiction. But I was going to meetings.
Okay. Now, thank you for being brave enough to acknowledge you have some issues around sex, because you're the only guy in this room that has issues around sex. I've never had any issues. So what I heard in your statement is sometimes our disease comes in a different doorway. So for me, sex, money, prestige, women, success, looking good is all part of the false ego stuff, part of the disease. And I think there are definitely some cross-addicted people here. All right? Sex and chemicals, work and chemicals, alcohol and business, entertaining. You know, once we get sober, we got to figure out a way to do this and keep the booze away. But it'll come in the side door sometimes, right? You know, you ever hear the metaphor of the whack-a-mole, where, you know, one thing comes up, you hit it, another one, keep on hitting it. I've named like 7. There's probably a few more that I'm not naming, all right? So, yeah, thank you. There is more than one demon besides drugs and alcohol that'll grab us and want to get fed. All right? So I'm almost done. Any other questions? Now we're going to share in a minute, but any other questions? Okay. So here's my grand finale, which I've already told you the 3 most important things. So there's 3 questions that are literally the same questions that only we could answer ourselves honestly. Am I in recovery or am I in relapse? That's question 1. Question 2, am I moving away from a drink or a drug or towards a drink or a drug? That's question 2, which is very similar to question 1. Did I call question 1 question 2? Anyhow, question 1, relapse or recovery. Question 2, am I moving away from a drink or a drug or towards? And the last version of the same question is this: I have a decision to make. I'm in a fork in the road. If I go left, I go right. If I go here, is that good for me or is it good for my disease? If I go the other way, is it good for me or is it good for my disease? So think about that one. I can go away to a destination wedding with my wife to watch our friends' kids get married because we're too old to get married. And it's an open bar, and we've paid, and I don't know if you guys ever been around open bars that you pay for booze. I resent human beings who drink because they're getting more bang for the buck than I do. But I know I could go to a destination wedding and not drink. How do I know that? Because I've been around open bars for years. I know how to handle it. If I had 3 months sober and I get invited to a destination wedding, now my question is it good for me or is it good for my disease? And I got to get honest, and I got to get humble, and I got to be aware maybe it's too early to go to a destination wedding where everybody's going to be doing shots. And then I announce to the bride or the groom, thanks, but no thanks. Now I could lie and say, I can't get away because of work. I don't have to say, I can't get away because my disease has me, has its jaws around me, and I don't want to give it any more food right now. So, third question, which is the same as the second, which is the same as the first, is the decision I'm about to make, is it good for me, the real me, or is it good for my disease? All right. Last chance for questions, and now I'll open it up to anybody who would like to share. Anybody like to share? No, you go for it.
Okay, so, and maybe this is arrogant, but I'm just going to be, and if it is, please, y'all blast me, please. But I've been sober for 7 years, and I had, the last 10 years of my drinking career, I obsessed over alcohol. Alcohol was my master. I had 3 days sober in 10 years. They weren't in a row. But since I've been sober, since I've experienced the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, since I've actually experienced the whole program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I have not had a desire to drink or use. And the biggest thing about this is, and I think the thing that will keep my ass going, what I've experienced, the thing that will keep me going down towards this line, down these steps, is selfishness, self-centeredness. And if I'm out of myself and I'm thinking about other people, if I'm thinking about you, I can't think about me. Not in that moment, maybe a millisecond apart, but I can't think about me, if I'm thinking of you. So, if I am the first thing, and I'm glad you wrote it, the F and G, if I am thinking about a newcomer, if I'm carrying this message to a newcomer, I am thinking about them and I am not thinking about myself. I am destroying self-centeredness. I'm paying the price that has to be paid. I have never, and 7 years, you've been around 33 years, so please correct me if I need to be corrected, but I have never heard of anyone that has worked the 12 steps as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and Relapse. Never, not one time ever, have I ever even heard of it. And specifically because of 2 words, constantly and continue. Because if I work the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, I work them every day. And if I take a damn week off or a month off, I am not working the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Then I would be working Jerry's program. It's just been my experience that this design for living cannot fail. The only thing that could fail would be me. So if I stick to this, how can I do this? I have to grow in understanding and effectiveness. I have to do this every day. And if I am not growing, moving forward, that imaginary line that isn't there, if I'm not growing, then I'm going to go backwards, which means every day I have to grow. So that's just my 2 cents, my thoughts on it.
Okay. And that just reminds me when they wrote the big book, they said, rarely have we seen a person fail. Originally, they wrote, we have never seen a person fail, and they changed it, which is what you just said, never. Rarely is more accurate. I think there are people that are actively working a program that end up relapsing, but in my humble opinion, it's because they're not pumping their arms and moving their legs fast enough to go up the escalator. And that to me is the difference between someone who stays sober and somebody who relapses. But then there's one more factor, which is who's having fun. It's one thing to be sober and miserable, which I'm not a fan of. I like sober and fun. You know, I like sober and enjoying life. I like sober and my kids want to spend time with me. I don't want to be a brittle, dry drunk. Now, hold that thought. You're on.
I'm Robert. I'm an alcoholic.
Robert?
When I came through here this is my second time around. My sobriety date is 4/21 of 04. And the first time I came through here, I did 15 months. And they kept talking about relapse in the meetings, and I didn't know what that was. I thought I would go out, drink a beer, and come back. And I went out for 2 years. So then, so I'm sobering up, and I had about 14 years sobriety, and I was talking to my grant sponsor about what I was doing with the girl, the clubs I was going to, the stuff I was doing. And he gave me my 14-year tip. He said, 14 looks real good, but 15 is going to be a bitch. I just finished telling him everything that I was doing, all my behaviors. And then when I got so 15-year came, and then 16-year tip came, and when the 16-year tip hit my hand, I flashed back on everything that I was doing. I was going toward the drink fast, man. And I stopped at 16. I stopped all the behaviors. I got lucky. I stopped, and I immersed myself in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, I know what that means. And for the last 4 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing meetings every day, almost talking to people, getting sponsees, doing all the stuff, man, because I was going back fast. And one guy would come by and say, "Oh, you're testing the waters." We done tested the waters too many years, you know. So it's really, for whatever reason, we come in here and we get armed with the facts, you know. And then we go back out. That's the insanity that the book talks about. I know the first time I came through here, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know. I got some relief and got some, meat on my bones. But when I came through here the second time, I started learning what was wrong with me, why, and I started working the steps. The first time I didn't work the steps completely, but the second time I'm in. And now that I've retired 4 years ago, now I do meetings and workshops more regularly now. So it's literally one day at a time deal. You check yourself at night. Yeah, if you're sober for a little while, you start making all the mistakes. You have to keep doing a step 10, It gets old when you keep doing step 10s because you keep fucking people up or whatever. But you find yourself, you keep plugging into the power greater than ourselves, and you'll find yourself.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
And if we're doing a step 10, and we have a lot of step 10 stuff to do, and a month or 3 goes by, and we still have a lot of 10-step stuff to do, and 6 months, a year go, and no, your 10-step should get smaller and smaller as we go on. And I'm hearing both of you guys talk about being more spiritual. Nothing I talked about here, I talked about spirituality, but one could say plugging into that higher power gives me a boost in that direction. Let me say it differently. I believe if I become more spiritual today than it was yesterday, I'm going that way. All right? But I also want to emphasize the fun part. We're not a glum lot.
Right.
We are funny. We are likable. And I don't know about you guys. You ever been around a dry drunk? Mm-hmm. They're not funny and they're not likable. Mm-hmm. And and some of those are considered, heads of programs and heads of AA meetings. And I smell that and I was like, I don't want to be near that. I like guys that get lighter, not heavier. And I don't mean weight-wise. I mean spiritually, emotionally. Thanks.
Justin, I'm alcoholic.
Hey, Justin.
I wish you'd have been here in March and told me this. I started working the steps back in September of last year and picked up my white chip in October here. And I'll never forget what I said is I'm never going to pick up another white chip. I'm going to do it and do it right this time. So here recently, and the reason I said I wish I had known this or saw this, the last rock, is I was 11 months and 4 days. And in my mind, I was going, I want to know if I like drinking again. I want to know if I like drinking again. I didn't tell my sponsor what was going through my head. And so I went and grabbed a 6-pack of beer, just like you illustrated earlier. I drank the first one, downed it real quick. I drank the second one, didn't like it. Threw the rest of them in the sink, poured them all out. Walked into my meeting on Monday, and all these people that have been watching me go through 90 and 90 turned and looked their heads at me, and like I had 10 heads, like, not you, Justin. Yep, I did it. I wanted to know what it was like. And I was going down the escalator, and I wish I had seen this before. It probably would have kept me from not putting the keys in the car, not going to the gas station, not getting the 6-pack of beer.
So
That's all I got, though.
what I'm hearing you say publicly is if you had this thing in front of you, this again, people that are listening to this on tape, this is a beautiful illustration of steps here and an escalator going. You're telling me if you had this, you wouldn't have relapsed because you'd have been honest enough to know that you went from here to here?
What I was saying, kind of like this guy that just left, is like, I didn't know that I was in relapse.
Okay.
And then relapse.
Right. So that's something that I don't think we say. When I first came around, they used to say that relapse begins way before the first drink. They don't say that a lot.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so now you know that, and don't do it again. Because Justin, we were all counting on you, man. You broke their hearts.
I know it.
Okay, but now you have how many? What do you got?
today's 65 days.
All right, cool. So I once was doing this talk, and I was Googling relapse stuff, and there was a door, and it had a quote on it, and it says, "Relapse is part of recovery, period. And it's okay, period." And I put that up on my PowerPoint, and I'm like, this sucks. Do not believe this shit. All right? Yeah, people relapse, but it's optional. It is optional. So, thank you. Who would like to share? Go.
I'm Zach. I'm an alcoholic.
Zach.
A little bit different. I've got 2 sponsees who we went through all 12 steps. They made their amends. And then both of them almost within a week of one another just ghosted me. A text, I try and call, no response. Or if they do answer, you get a lot of, I'm fine. So I'm asking maybe some advice, or if anybody's had similar experience where, you know, I can't seem to get them to like engage with me. And so now I've kind of backed off, and I haven't talked to either one of them in almost 2 weeks. And so I'm like, you know, where in this equation, working with others, do I try and be able to say, hey, what's going on with you?
Well, it's hard to say what's going on with you if they don't pick up the phone.
Sure.
Unfaced shame, to me, is one of the leading causes of relapse. And the story you just told, believe it or not, I don't have an answer, but my gut feeling is each of these guys in making amends probably had something else come up like, shit, now I got to apologize to my cousin. I just apologized to my aunt. I don't want to apologize to my cousin. This program sucks. I'm out of here. Unfaced shame keeps us stuck. We all have shame. And that's part of the beauty of these rooms is, I stole from a gas station. I robbed a gas station. I burned down a gas station. It's just like, okay, well, maybe I'm not so terrible a human being anyway. So that's my take. Did they relapse together?
As far as I know, I don't know if they have or haven't.
All right.
Because
if I made the joke, you must be a lousy sponsor, would you laugh or would you feel guilty?
I just feel sorry for them.
Okay, but it's important you realize that it's not you.
Sure, no, I know that.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right. Then I won't make that joke. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody know the guy that left? I don't. All right. If you see him, grab him, make sure he's okay. Okay, just make sure he's okay. So, all right, if there's burning desire, Anybody want to?
I didn't want to say something quick just to add to. Was that the point you made? About how we're not a glum lot. I think that's very important because for me, I'm a coward and I have a very low threshold for pain. I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to struggle. I used to say it I'll say it now. I'm either going to be happy, joyous, and free. I'm going to comprehend serenity and know peace, or I'm going to be drunk as hell. To me, that this sobriety, that's not an option for me. I've got to have serenity. I've got to find joy. And I don't mean rainbows and butterflies 24 hours a day. I understand life happens. I don't mean perfection. But I'm going to have to be generally happy. Those 9-step promises are talking about comprehend serenity. That means really understand it. Know peace. Like you know someone. Actually know what peace looks like. That to me, that's not negotiable. If I don't have that, then I feel like I'm always on shaky ground. So to me, that's emotional sobriety, all that. To me, without that, it's not real sobriety. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that.
Cool. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Tim. I'm an alcoholic. One of the things I used to like to say, and it reminded me at first, when I first sat down, if I stick to the basics, I don't have to go back to the basics. But from listening to this, and it's a little more than that. I got to really, keep walking up that down escalator and putting a little effort into it. So that's what
And as we get older and our legs are a little weaker, we need to find a new way to keep going up the escalator, which may be, for example, maybe not doing squats so much, but doing more of this. Maybe not, working with new guys, but maybe, more just fellowshipping. So just be aware. And I wrote this, I don't know if you guys can read my handwriting, trying new things in recovery. I mean, how many of you in the last 30 days have done something you've never done before? Cool. Keep it up. Do something different. I heard somebody out there, I haven't read a book since I was in 7th grade. I wanted to say, hey, dude, maybe you can read a book, It's books are good. I didn't because, not my business. But if he was in here, I'd tell him to read a book, unless you're in here. All right. Anybody else? Cool. Well, thank you guys, and take a picture of the beautiful escalator going down, and let's close with the.